All right, welcome back to this shitty little shed. We're back on the Kingswood now. We took a bit of a break just to catch up a bit. Original plan was to try and get this ready for Boxing Day. That didn't happen. We're finding more and more problems with this car, and it's kind of dragged it out. So yeah, the owner's not particularly bothered about when it actually gets finished. So because of that, I kind of had enough, and I went on and messed about with main cars for a while, for probably, I don't know, 4 weeks or so. And of course we had Christmas and New Year's and a few other bits and pieces getting in the way. But we're back out here again. It's bloody hot. Got the air conditioner on, you might hear that in the background. So the plan is now to really get after it for the next month or so, and to try and get this, try and get a paint ready onto the car. We're working on this section. You can see that I tried to salvage as much of this. I can't even speak this morning. This is ridiculous. I've tried to salvage as much of this corner as I possibly can. Remember, I couldn't find the spot welds along this edge. Ideally, what I would have liked to have done is unpick this as far down as I possibly can and then cut it out. It makes it a lot easier when welding everything back in. But yeah, couldn't find the spot welds, so this is what we're left with. We'll do the best we can. We're going to fix this rust running along the back. You can see that someone has come in and attempted a repair at some stage. Basically, all they've done is there's obviously rust holes in this area. They've just come in and welded those holes up. It's not like they've put any filler material in here apart from the wire itself. So I need to tidy that up as well. Hopefully this will turn out all right. We'll see. All right, change of plan. That's kind of gone out the window now because I was hoping, I should have known better. I think I did know better. I was just, I don't know. Cleaned all this up. And I was kind of hoping that this wouldn't be too pitted, that it would clean up all right and I wouldn't have to worry about it. Turns out the pitting is way too heavy, and not only that, I've actually broken through in a couple of spots. So now I've got to sort out this area first, and then we'll get back to what I started on. Right, bit of progress. So, cut all this area of the dash section out. We've now got this area all the way through here sorted. I mean, it's good enough. You see a couple of holes I have to come back in and touch up, finish up along here. Now I'm just welding the rest of this back in. The idea is to get this to look like it hasn't been messed with. I don't think we're going to achieve that with this around this area, but it's good enough for this car. The other problem, hopefully you can see this in the camera because I didn't check when I set it all up, but we had these two holes that I discovered a while ago as well. It turns out the rust has traveled quite a ways up. So once all this is sorted, we then have to make a piece up, cut all this out. Yeah, I'm not happy, but it's got to be done. Now we have this section welded back into the car now that we've fixed all that rust underneath. Fairly simple once again. Oh, actually, that's not true. It was a little bit tricky through here. So the weld runs there, down there, I think, and then sort of back up around here. The way it was cut out, unfortunately, when I went to put it all back together, there was a good sized gap there, but I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. If you look close enough, let's say further down the road, and this gets stripped and painted again or whatever, it won't be obvious that this section has been cut out. You'll be able to tell if you look close enough. Especially right here, you can see where I've undercut that weld a little bit. I'm just going to leave it. It's good enough. So now that we have the inner rust repair done, we've repaired the rust up here, welded all this back on. We're going to tackle this area. So this shouldn't be too difficult. Make a piece up. So we're going to have to put a fold in here, fold in there, and then where that turns around, it kind of softens quite a bit. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because this gets covered once it's all back together again. But we'll get it pretty close. I'll make that piece up today and then probably weld it in tomorrow. Right. So really quickly, knock this out. Fairly basic shape. This old girl's just full of surprises. So I've unpicked this area. Well, tried to unpick this area and start cutting everything out. So we have two pieces along here that are spot welded together. And the back side of this looked okay. And then I discovered that this is actually full of body filler. So this lower piece had just been bogged up at some stage. And looks like we're going to have to cut this out as well. Replace that before we can start filling everything else in. That probably should have spotted that. So that's sorted, pretty easy. Once again, simple repair. Cut it all out, weld a section in. Quick tip though, when working on areas like this, it can be a little bit hard to get in to clean up the welds. It's well worth grabbing one of these. This has had a hard life. I've had it for a long time, but it still works. Just makes it a bit easier to clean up the welds that are a little bit tighter, a little bit harder to get into. So now that we've got that sorted, start trying to figure out what we're going to do with this. I'll bring it back once we've got that welded in. There we go. Got it all welded in. Need to do some plug welds along this edge. I've got to do a bit of hammer and dolly work, tighten these up, but it's coming together. Once again, we've got a couple of porosity or pitting, whatever in the welds. I'll come back in. So I've tried to weld this up along the edge where it meets top of this dash to mimic the driver's side. It does, the driver's side does look pretty rough. So how it is now is how I'll leave it. So once again, when you pop all this off, it's not going to be obvious that we've had to cut shit out of this and do these repairs. Just try and keep it looking as factory as we can get it. Don't have to be too fussy with it. Finished up with the plug welds. We're pretty much done on this side for today at least. Tomorrow I do need to come out and test fit all these trims, make sure that we're all good. Now, I did take measurements before I started cutting everything up, so we should be fine there. I haven't welded this little spot right here or cleaned that up yet, just in case we need to sort of manipulate that a little bit to get the trims to line up, but I'm pretty sure we're okay. We've mirrored the driver's side as well. So this started off as, like I've mentioned in the past, more of a tidy up. We've had to take it further than what we thought we would, unfortunately. And the more we dig, the more we find. I'm pretty sure that was the last bit of rust that we have to do on the body of this car. So if we get down here, you can see radiator support panel needs work. We've got the replacement in for that bottom section. But I think what I might do is leave that until we've pulled this car apart. We've still got to dial in the bodywork. You can see we've got the bonnet off, guard off at the moment. Need to strip that bonnet, seal all that up, throw that back on, make sure we are all squared up again, and we will be officially at the point where I can say the bodywork's roughed in. So if I managed to put this video together correctly, you would have just seen we've finished off the that cowl section, and now we're moving on to the bonnet. Now this, surprisingly, looks really straight. Normally you get a low section through here where people have been shutting it, pushing down on this area. This bonnet actually looks really clean. Now if you go back over other videos, you can see we've already gapped this up. We had to add material across the front here and a few other little spots. What do we need to do? So I'm just going to strip it. I was going to just try and paint strip it, and then go over it with the the orbital, DA, whatever you want to call it. I don't think I'm going to bother paint stripping. I'll just... Actually, I won't use this one. I'll use the other one. I'll just go over it with, I don't know, 40 grit, then anti-grit, something like that. Bare metal that, then seal it up, flip it over, do the same to the backside. Okay, slight change of plan. I did want to, well, I was hoping I could at least just buzz this down, and it wouldn't take too long to get it back to metal, but this paint, man, it's on there. So, unfortunately, we've had to bring out the paint stripper. I absolutely hate stripping paint. It's one of the worst jobs when it comes to doing this kind of work. All right, fun times. She is stripped, done, finished for today at least. Tomorrow, what are we going to do? Well, tomorrow, first thing I'm going to do is get a fucking haircut and have a shave. But then I'm going to commit the ultimate bodywork sin, depending on who you're talking to. I'm going to do the filler work direct to metal. I think we'll discuss this a little bit more once we've made a little bit more progress. All right, let's have a chat about this debate that's been going on about how to lay body filler specifically. Do I lay it direct to metal or do I lay it over an epoxy primer? Now the problem, the argument basically goes, if you lay the body filler directly onto metal, there's a risk of the body filler itself soaking in moisture, which it can do. That works its way through to the sheet metal and then causes rust. You'll end up having rust starting to take off in between the filler and the sheet metal. And I definitely agree that is possible. Geez, I'm not good at explaining, so this might drag out. We'll see how we go. So the idea is if you lay it over the top of an epoxy primer, then you at least have that barrier. Now, there's a few problems here. Actually, there's, on top of that, so if you lay, well, this is another potential problem. If you lay the body filler direct to metal and then seal it up with something other than a epoxy primer, and then you wet rub that high build primer, like if you've primed it in a urethane, like a 2-part urethane or something, those products aren't 100% waterproof. So if you then wet sand that primer, there's also a risk of moisture working its way through that primer and into the filler itself, and then once again can work its way down to the surface of the body, to the sheet metal, and cause rust. So because of that, as far as I'm aware, I don't really spend a lot of time on social media sort of looking at these arguments anymore, but as far as I'm aware, most people prefer now to lay the body filler over the top of an epoxy primer so you at least have that barrier. Now, I do it both ways. I have no issue with laying it direct to metal, and I also lay it over the top of an epoxy primer. For me, it's more important to get your prep work right. So whether you're laying filler direct to metal or not, it's all about the prep work. Same with the prep work on the sheet metal before you seal it up in a epoxy primer. It's all in the prep. When it comes to this sort of work, it's all in the prep. That's what's going to bite you in the ass further down the road. If that sheet metal isn't prepped how it should be, it doesn't matter what you do from that point on, you're going to have problems. Now, like I said, I do it both ways. And how do I explain this? Okay, so there's a basic rule that I like to stick to. If I'm laying body filler direct to metal, I like to have it sealed up within 24 hours of laying everything down. So with this bonnet, I'm happy to do it direct to metal because I know I can knock this out in a day, the filler work in a day or so, and by the end of the day, I can then seal it up. Because another problem is leaving it exposed. So if you lay down, like for instance, when I'm doing the side of the car, it's going to take me a while to get all the filler work done. So I lay down an epoxy first, then I'll scuff that, and then the filler goes over the top of that. Because I might get 3/4 of the way down the side of the car, something comes up, and then I'm unable to work on the car for, say, 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'm leaving that body filler exposed to the elements. Where on a really humid day, maybe it'll draw moisture in, maybe it won't, I don't know. Either way, I'm not willing to take that risk. So in that case, I at least have some sort of a barrier. So, I mean, this is one of those each to their own kind of topics. I can only tell you how I like to do it personally. I've stripped a lot of cars in my time. I've stripped a lot of cars that I know were painted many, many years earlier. This car, for instance, where we found a lot of rust underneath the body filler. Now, that could have been through it being exposed and drawing in the moisture. It also could be from just poor prep work. We don't really know. But I mean, each their own. Do your own research. Don't listen to what this old hack says. So if everything's gone to plan and I've edited this correctly, you would have just seen the bonnet ready to be sealed up. So we're kind of jumping around. We're going back in time a bit here. But I thought I'd just take you through my process when it comes to skim coating these panels. So you saw that we stripped the paint off this bonnet. We've then, I don't think I filmed it, but we've then gone in with a metal prep, metal conditioner, whatever you want to call it. Once we finish that, I then go over it with a 40 grit on one of my many DAs that I've got laying around. I use this one because the cut is a little more aggressive. So anyway, hit that with 40 grit, and the idea behind that is to create a mechanical tooth between the body filler itself and the sheet metal. And now we go in with wax and grease remover and make sure this is absolutely spotless. Once we've got that cleaned up, we then spread our first coat of body filler. Now, I like to try and get away with a single wipe. Panels like this, because it was already reasonably straight, you can normally get away with a single wipe. And once we've got that laid, I then come in and hit this with 80 grit. Now, the reason I use 80 grit is because I use a product called Evercoat Rage Ultra. Really nice to sand. I've never had problems with pinholes. So we've knocked this down with 80 grit. Now I've got a shitload of different blocks that I use. I've used Durablocks for a really long time. I've got a shitload of sanding blocks floating around here somewhere. I kind of moved away from that a couple of years ago, or a few years ago actually. And now, for the most part, I make my my own blocks. That way I get to customize them and shape them, and I'm not spending a fortune. I mean, the money people charge for these blocks now are fucking insane. Now, once we've knocked this down with 80 grit, I then come back in with either 120 or 180. With this product, I like to switch straight from 80 grit to 180. And we're using this as a guide coat. All that being said, how this looks now is where most people would leave it. They wouldn't take it any further. Because as you can see, hopefully you can see in the camera, we've got the sheet metal just starting to ghost through. Of course, I need to clean up these edges, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And that ghosting effect, that's kind of what you're after. Now, I'm not really bothered how other people do it. This is just how I like to do it. So to minimize the amount of filler that we use, I start taking measurements to try and figure out where we can and can't knock this down. So all I'm going to do now is just go over, so 0.33 of a millimeter, 0.25, 0.26, it's fairly even, 0.24, 0.04. So I'm just going to go over and check and see where I can knock this down just a little bit further. And the guide coat kind of dictates where I can and can't block at this point. So I'll finish this up now and I'll bring you back once we're done. So an interesting little test to do on these factory pressed panels. Once you've got everything bare metaled, get some acrylic matte black or satin black, shoot that on the sheet metal itself, then get a decent block, preferably like an acrylic block or something, and go over that with like a 120 Just go over it lightly, and you'll see what I mean when it comes to the waviness on these factory panels. And when it comes to this car, the idea is to get it as straight as we can possibly get it. Because if we achieve the gloss that we're shooting for on this car, every tiny little ripple, every tiny little wave is going to stand out. So the bonnet's sealed up. It is currently 40-something degrees here at the moment. So I don't think I'll be doing much today. And I think we've got a pretty hot week coming up. I'll still come out, but yeah, I'm not gonna go as hard as I thought I was going to over the next few days at least. Now I did notice that I went back over the footage, and I definitely missed out a lot of crucial information when it comes to the filler work. I was just trying to give you a really quick overview, but I'm not going to worry about that too much with this series. Like I said, I've got the VK coming in soon. Well, once this is out. Again, depends on how much interest I get. I'll document that build, and I'll go into a lot more detail when it comes to my process, at least. But again, this is just how I do it. Go do your own research. Don't follow what I do. But I think we'll wrap it up there. So next video we're bringing out the, just grab it. So I'm going to give this stuff a go. See, the scary thing with this build is I'm using a completely different sealer than I would normally use. I'm using different body filler. We'll be using a different, this product, which I don't really have a lot of experience with. And I'm in the process of changing brands when it comes to my hardwood primers and stuff as well. So it's a little bit scary moving away from products that I've used for years that I'm actually confident with. But the prices of some of these products now is just insane, and it makes it harder and harder to do this kind of budget work. So I'll keep these videos a little bit vague, and once I get the VK in here, we'll go into detail depending on how everything goes, because that's going to be a higher end build than this car. I think I'm kind of talking too much, so that's it. We'll leave it at that. Next video will be in a couple of weeks if all goes to plan.